From Fox 5 DC, Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio arrested in DC, police say. Fox 5 has learned Enrique Tarrio has been arrested. Evan Lambert reports Tarrio is facing misdemeanor destruction of property charges in relation to him saying he burned a Black Lives Matter flag that was stolen from a black church in December during a protest in the district. Lambert tweeted, 2 law enforcement sources confirm Enrique Tarrio has been arrested on DC misdemeanor destruction of property charges. DC police confirmed Monday evening they had arrested the 36-year-old. He has been charged with destruction of property related to that offense. Police say at the time of his arrest, Tarrio was found to be in possession of 2 high-capacity firearm magazines. He has been additionally charged with possession of high-capacity feeding device. So I guess that's related to the magazines. That's the crazy thing people don't know about DC. You can't even own ammo. You have to get registered to own ammunition. It's like a lot of places don't even do that. Some of the craziest places, it's all about the guns. They say earlier on Monday, the Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church in D.C. filed a lawsuit against the Proud Boys and Tarrio, alleging that the group scaled its fence and tore down a large Black Lives Matter sign on display. It was one of 2 historically black churches that were vandalized during the protests. So they made that statement, and they called it, like they were saying it was a hate crime and stuff like that. And so it was a bunch of Proud Boys who apparently done it. In my opinion, I don't think you should be, taking private property and burning it and destroying it, because I'll criticize Antifa for the same thing. But I guess because they were calling it racist, Enrique Tarrio, who's not a white man, posted on Parler that it was actually him. And he said something like, I dare you to charge me with a hate crime. Are you guys familiar with what he posted?
Oh, yeah. And actually, we were there that night and we saw this stuff. I think you were there right beside me. And I can tell you 2 things. Number one, nobody knew these were black churches. So like this idea, there was a bunch of white people walking around hunting black churches. Number one, this is Washington, D.C. So the chance of a church probably being a majority black church is pretty high since this is a very dense black community. But number 2, if you understand the entire political spectrum of Proud Boys, there's like 2 groups they oppose. And that's Antifa anarchists and then like communist backed groups, which many people who helped found BLM claim to be behind. Yeah, right. So they weren't seeing this. I believe, well, I obviously think it's kind of stupid to tear something down and just like burn it off of private property. I don't think this was a target on black people. I think this was like, we're taking down a communist symbol in a city and showing that we're taking it back for America. But that's what I saw, and that's what I thought their motives were.
I think the funny part about it is like, since when the hell does Black Lives Matter care about church? Like, listen, we were there. We were covering that, right, on a Saturday night. The next morning, Black Lives Matter DC held a presser in BLM Plaza, crying and complaining, saying that their black joy was stolen and that all of a sudden they care about church. All of a sudden they care about these historic black churches. And it's like, these are the same people that don't want any form of religion, even whether it's Jesus, whatever it is, completely out of society. So all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter cares about church?
But they just arrested a black guy for doing it. Enrique Tarrio,
literally.
He's
exactly.
like he's half black. They always try.
Is he Cuban or Puerto Rican?
They report that he's Afro-Cuban.
Yeah.
So I guess I think it's really dumb because I don't like playing those games on race with people. Like, I shouldn't have to bring that up about what Enrique's race is or anybody here.
Yeah, but you got to flip it on their head, man.
But when they say it was a bunch of white dudes stealing, black joy or whatever, it's like, actually the guy who he's claiming he did it. I don't know if he did, but I mean, it sounds reasonable. Like he's like the Proud Boy. He was there.
Can we just say this, though? That night this happened, not only were a couple Proud Boys stabbed, from what I remember, right? Weren't they actually
4 critical condition?
Yeah, they were stabbed. But also, can we also point this out, that Antifa were also looking to attack Proud Boys at this time. Black Lives Matter, the organization, the group, shut down D.C. They were grouped together, trying to attack the Proud Boys. Police had to keep them off. So this wasn't like a war between white people and black churches.
It's even worse.
There was a battle between BLM, Antifa activists, and the Proud Boys. And so they're like, kind of like how Antifa keeps ripping down American flags and burning them because they think that Proud Boys symbolize American patriotism. They kind of went back and said, well, let's rip down their signs too. Yep. Stupid, probably, but
stupid.
I think it's even worse than that, Elijah, because they're not only going after Proud Boys. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and DC are going after innocent Trump supporters. You have like elderly couples, you have young people that just support the president that are walking down Black Lives Matter Plaza just back to their hotels getting physically assaulted because of supporting the president. So it's like the media will take this and say, oh, the Proud Boys are attacking black people. But the reason why the Proud Boys responded was because innocent Trump supporters were being physically assaulted all night long, the past 2 events. And the MPD, because they have their hands tied, they just kind of shoo them away and continue and move on and move on.
One of the top stories on Reddit just a few days ago was this church actually suing the Proud Boys. And now we have the Washington Post confirming that he was arrested specifically for burning the Black Lives Stolen banner. This is Washington Post just reporting on it right now. So
Is it for the arson or for the theft?
It's misdemeanor property destruction. It was.
Oh
Listen,
my
let's tell you
gosh,
something.
dude.
Now DC cares about property destruction?
I love it. It's great, right?
This is the timeline we find ourselves
No,
in.
but look at what's going on right now with like that leaked phone call from Trump, right? It's a leaked phone call, and Twitter's like, oh, that's fine. Didn't we just go through this huge news cycle of like you can't release people's private information?
or them doing
CNN,
specific
Veritas.
substances with, I'm not even going to say it.
The
We
double,
can't even say it.
the double
Yeah.
standard is, but this is the point I want to get to. It's actually pretty worrying, man. When the Proud Boys romped around D.C., there's a video of them really just clobbering this Antifa dude. Now, apparently, there was like an Antifa guy who was fighting with them, got separated from his group, him and this chick, and then the Proud Boys just would not relent. This guy's trying to leave. He's clearly lost the fight, and the Proud Boys run up. One guy grabs the woman, a Proud Boy guy, grabs a woman by her ponytail and like pulls her hair back. And I'm like, dude, that is loser Antifa style fighting. Grabbing a woman's hair from behind and pulling, you're a dude, come on. But repeatedly pummeling this guy, this Antifa dude, as he's clearly no threat to you or anybody else. Then they went and they tore down that sign. My response was like, sounds a whole lot like what Antifa does. I'm not a fan of that. If you want to defend yourself from Antifa, you should absolutely defend yourself from somebody who wants to beat you up, who is attacking you, or defend others. But when they're running away, tail between their legs, pathetic, let them go.
Yeah, but see, Drew brought this up, and I think this is where people don't understand. I'm not defending the violence because I myself am not an extremely violent person, not even mildly violent. People even like discredit me or try to slap me on the face for the fact that like, oh, hey, you should fight back a little more and defend yourself. But when I see those events, you have to look at the whole timeline. And from the very beginning, these Antifa groups, which are often protected by the MPD, they have a reserve base. It's the Black Lives Matter Plaza, which essentially I think is like 14th Street or whatever, right there by the White
K
House.
Street.
Yeah, right by Lafayette Plaza, Park. And they run back to this area protected by police. Then they come out of the sides. The police let them leave and come back, but nobody else. So if you look like you're in black bloc or whatever, you can go in and out. I've experienced this. If I'm wearing black bloc, I can get in, dress like a journalist. No. So you go in, they come out. They light fireworks. They assault people with skateboards. They punch people. They hit people all the time. Like I watch this happening. So when the Proud Boys aren't just like going there and being like, let's go pummel some Antifa. Let's go pummel some Black Lives Matter. It's like these guys are extremely masculine men who a lot of them, it's a part of a club. I'm sure a lot of them feel a lot of the same reasons why people might join Antifa. They might have been, feel a little bit rejected from society, some of them, and they found a lot of camaraderie and brotherhood. There's some positive elements here, but they get riled up because the violence starts happening and they go, and somebody's always like, we need to fight back. We need to show these people they can't keep assaulting us. If the police won't step in, then we will.
Yeah. But here's the point I wanted to make. The Proud Boys used to be very conscious about press. They'd be very, very careful. They'd make sure they know the media is looking to smear them all the time. So they would try their best. But no matter what the Proud Boys do, they're a far-right white supremacist group. Literally, you got Enrique Tarrio, not a white guy, and they claim he's a white supremacist. It's the weirdest thing. So when I think they've come to the point now, the Proud Boys have realized there's no point in even trying to do the right thing as far as the press cares, because they're going to get lied about anyway. So now they're just like, screw it. We're gonna go out and we're gonna do what Antifa does. Why not?
Spot on.
The relationship between Antifa and the police is something that's really peculiar because there have been many documented instances of police officers dressing up as Antifa and then committing property destruction, as has happened throughout many protests. And now to hear your reports of them kind of coddling them, what's the most egregious example that you saw of this, or like what would you say sticks out to you most?
This is how it goes down. You will literally see on one of these nights, Antifa, Black Lives Matter start these violent acts. They'll go after innocent Trump supporters. It's not Proud Boys. You'll see like elderly couples walking down the street, teenagers, young kids. The first mega rally was they were holding down the fort, Black Lives Matter Plaza. They issue out text messages saying we have to defend our territory. We have to defend BLM Plaza. And whoever's wearing a Trump hat, whether it's an elderly person or a young kid, they will go to town on them. So when that happens, the police will just shoo them away And then the Proud Boys will see that like all night long, and then they'll respond to the violence and come out on the streets because the MPD isn't doing much. But what you do see is when the Proud Boys come out, the MPD will literally grab Antifa, grab Black Lives Matter, pull them behind
the
police
lines.
behind
They
police.
shield them to protect them. It's so
listen,
weird.
I don't care what anybody says. If anyone wants to accuse me, oh, you're an activist reporter, I don't care. I don't care at this point. There will literally be times where I'm watching this and I'm like, these are the same people that have been calling to defund the police all year long, and there they are being defended by the police. They receive it.
We just saw that in Salem, Washington?
Yeah.
Where an Antifa guy armed with a paintball gun is standing with his back to the cops, staring at Proud Boys. And they're not even all Proud Boys, some conservatives. The craziest thing, seeing conservatives yell, F the police.
Yeah.
I saw there was a dude
yeah.
who looked like he was wearing Proud Boys colors, and he's screaming, F the police, F the blue. And then you see that video, this is from Ford Fisher, where they actually throw the thin blue line flag on the ground and start stomping on it, and then just chuck it into the street. Police got no support left, man.
Well, it blows my mind. I think the best example to your point of this is, so there was Polish state media that were at the last march, okay? And Antifa had made an actual, people say it's not a real thing. Well, they had a flyer, and it said, Black Bloc anarchists, everyone meet at this park. So it's this circle, I think it's like Jefferson Circle or something. I don't remember what it's called. They all meet together. So Polish state media, probably not super hyper aware of what's going on in the streets of America, goes to film. Then I start seeing, they're like on the outskirts, the Black Bloc start coming up, saying, you can't film here, you can't do this. And they're saying, I can film whatever I want. Wait, you guys have freedom of press here, in their accents. You have freedom of press. I know my rights here. I know what I can do. And another journalist who's American media, I'm not going to say where from, was saying, oh, no, you obviously don't realize the rules of Antifa. So they're going, journalists saying that they follow the rules of anarchists. And so then it goes a further where the guy goes, he's getting a kick out of him. He's a Pole, right? Poles don't mess around. So he's just like keeps filming, and he's like,
Luke?
and,
Yes.
and they're pushing him.
I got beat up a couple times for
the
that.
police are there, and they're pushing the camera guy, and they're hitting the camera, and the police are standing there. And I mark my words. I spoke to these guys the next day. I did hear it right. I filmed this incident. It was on Twitter. They're pushing him back into the police. And he's telling the police, why don't you help me? And the officer was like, dude, well, you shouldn't have been accosting them. And he's like, I wasn't accosting them. I'm filming them. Like, I'm a press member. Like, look. And the officer was like, dude, look, man, just don't be bothering them. And you're
was that election night?
Yeah.
How did this flip happen? Where it's like the left has been screaming, the Proud Boys walk up to a cop and shake their hand, and they're like, the police are protecting the Proud Boys, and now it's inverted.
Yeah. A very similar thing happened to me in Hamburg when I got jumped by Antifa. Police officer came, looked at me, he was like, we can't help you, you're screwed, good luck. And then literally I got followed back, and you were there, and it was just a crazy, insane incident.
Yeah, the crazy thing is how the mob mentality works.
Yeah.
Like some dude just pointed at Luke and accused him of being a fascist, and then random people run up and start punching Luke in the head.
I
People
saw
are nuts
something.
now.
I saw a video of yours, old school video, bro. I thought it was awesome.
From when?
I think you were in New York. I don't know where you were, but you were covering Antifa, and it kind of shocked me because I think Antifa was literally like on the sidewalks.
And I was filming them, like,
I think it's when you got
airing out
assaulted,
tires.
when you got hit for the first
Well,
time.
when you got assaulted, I was there too.
The first
and I
time or
remember a
when?
guy walking behind you.
No, that was the second time.
That was the second time. But I remember the second time was also kind of prominent because I remember I saw this guy walking behind you. I'm like, he's going to jump on
And you
Tim.
just kept filming him?
And then no. I was like,
Luke
I was getting
didn't
ready.
help. No,
I was,
you weren't.
No, yes,
You
I
were
was.
filming.
Matt grabbed him, and I.
Oh, that's right. You grabbed his mask.
And I grabbed his
right,
mask off
that's right.
and took his mask off. And then, what do you mean?
salute you.
What year was that? What year was that?
That was 2012. It was the beginning of 2012.
This is what stuck out to me. What stuck out to me was how Antifa, I remember hearing like police calls on the intercoms in the video. What stuck out to me was how Antifa would actually listen to orders to get on the sidewalks and march. Is that accurate? Would they literally march on the sidewalks?
Yeah, of course.
And now they're just the whole.
It's about choosing their battles, right? At the time back then, it was like, you want to fight for the cops, do it covertly. Don't let them arrest you arbitrarily.
Wow.
So then, they would do things like de-arrests.
Well, because it was anarchy. What's weird is anarchy is like the police are against you, but now the police protect them. This is a weird way to segue, but I actually brought a gift for you guys. I'm being serious. This is a rare gift. I'm not even joking. This is only like a couple of these around. I want you to open this. It's not inappropriate.
On air.
Oh boy.
I want you to open it. It's not inappropriate. And I really want you to keep this. This is actually a historic piece.
Ooh.
It's a historic piece. I only have 4 of these. I'll explain to you what this is. So this is a hat that I saved out of a bonfire in Ilhan Omar's district during the Trump rally when the police cordoned all of the Trump supporters to walk through the Antifa, and they were ripping everyone's hats off. and lit them on fire. I took a few out of the fire and put them out and saved them to remember the violence and the abuse that was going on. And I remember during that time when I was filming that, people were saying like, why aren't the police doing anything? This was like a shock at that point, saying how could the police be protecting those who are assaulting Trump supporters? And I go, well, clearly this shows you that the police, while many officers are great individuals who just love their city and they're trying to protect and serve or just make a living, this shows you that police are under the influence of their district, of their city, and there's a lot of bureaucracy and political corruption that's involved in what police can and cannot do. And when I watched that, and that's why I kept these hats, I think the only other person who has one is Glenn Beck. But
Well, thank you, sir.
But I wanted you, because I knew you'd actually keep that.
Definitely.
That's
so
a
cool.
relic to show you
put it
that
on the wall.
that's a failure of the police in our state right now, where the fact is that if that can happen, if people can get their property stolen, illegal fires could get lit, and guess who I kept seeing getting arrested for fighting back? Trump supporters.
Of course.
Yeah.
So one of the first events I went to, I've been covering. We didn't call them Antifa back during the Occupy Wall Street days. We just called them Black Bloc anarchists or whatever. But they're not anarchists. Like, I was friends with the anarchists. You want to know why? Because anarchists, real anarchists, be it left anarchists or right anarchists, don't believe in using violence against people.
Yeah,
You a
the
closeted
the
anarchist?
non-aggression principle. It's pretty simple.
I'm very, very left libertarian. I don't believe in, anarchy is an without archy authority. I'm not that, far libertarian on the spectrum, but I'm pretty left libertarian on a lot of issues. And so I was hanging out at Occupy Wall Street, and I'll tell you, the actual anarchists were complaining the whole time, saying, sitting down, having a discussion, like convincing people of how we all work together and cooperate is anarchy. Not one person beating the other, demanding they do as they're told. That's fascism. That's authoritarian. That's what they were saying. The left will tell
Using
you.
force and extortion to push your ideas is something that's bad. I mean, that's widely
Authoritarianism.
accepted by a lot of anarchists. And there was a lot of very interesting, smart discussions at Occupy Wall Street, which I think, I think that kind of sentiment, this is interesting because we really have to talk about the kind of political climate right now, because I bet there's going to be a lot of left-wingers that are going to be very disenfranchised with Joe Biden. There's also a lot of right-wingers that are absolutely pissed off at the authorities, especially the police officers. This Saturday, it was Ezra Levant posting, even admitting
Of
himself.
the rebel, like a conservative, very
Yes.
conservative.
A Canadian.
A Canadian.
Not complying with the law.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Which is absolutely fascinating. But there is a political realignment. The climate is changing, and I think there's going to be some major fireworks, especially this year.
Well, so I guess what's going to happen is I think you'll start seeing. I wonder if we have these three factions. I wonder if the populists will have a tacit agreement of some sort, right? So this is something that Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks wrote about recently. He said there's three different realities. There's the populist left, the establishment, and the populist right. Well, he claims to be a populist leftist. I disagree. I think he's actually very, very, very pro-establishment. And I think he just, his bread and butter is the progressive track. I really do think so. You look at Jimmy Dore, who was saying like, why can't we get a vote for Medicare for all? And this is the big scandal going on right now. Cenk Uygur and Jimmy Dore trending on Twitter earlier. So anyway, I digress. He's right. And so, I'll give him respect for this op-ed he wrote. The one thing he got wrong was he was very derisive of Trump supporters, saying they're cultists and stuff like that. You don't need to go there, because you can just talk about the populist left hates the establishment. The populist right hates the establishment. With Trump being pushed out of power, that means you're going to have two out-of-power populist factions who hate the establishment. If there's three realities here, and two of them are united in their hatred of the establishment, will Antifa and the leftists look the other way when Proud Boys are the ones, yelling at cops and screaming?
And the Proud Boys announced that this specific week, we saw this in a post by Enrique talking about maybe we should wear all black.
Yep.
Maybe we should not identify ourselves as Proud Boys. So that's also another contributing factor to what's kind of happening here and how it's unfolding, because I really do think the establishment is deathly afraid of these sides coming together, because they're going to realize they have a lot more in common than they have different from each other.
What happens when Proud Boys and conservatives do show up tomorrow on the 6th, and tomorrow or on the 6th, and they are in Black Bloc? So if those aren't familiar, it's like they're wearing, black sweaters and black pants and masks or whatever. You won't be able to tell the difference between Antifa and Proud Boys. And
Antifa smell.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
but sure.
What are the
but
police going to do?
What are the cops going to do?
Yeah.
And how is Antifa going to fight Proud Boys if they all look the same? How are Proud Boys going to fight Antifa?
I see this as a
suppose if you're in disguise as Antifa, I'll hit somebody else. But what if a Proud Boy punches a Proud Boy thinking he's Antifa? The point is,
I got knocked down in Seattle. I was in Block, and a Proud Boy once punched me in the shoulder and knocked me down.
Gosh.
From
He
a
did.
shoulder punch?
Well, he went like you don't know some of these dudes. They're
I
like,
know.
I
No, I've been out there.
Haven't
We've
you
been out
seen
there.
One
Yeah.
Punch Man?
Yeah.
The viral
Yeah.
video? They called
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Well, I was just standing there. I'm not
Yeah.
like in a defensive position. I was just standing there. He just went like boom, and I just like. Well, I didn't like fall down. I just was like, whoa. And like, I was like, damn. I was like, no wonder why this Antifa get knocked out. I was like,
What'd you
You
say?
guys-
What'd you do afterwards?
oh, I was like, dude, I'm not like Antifa. Like,
Even though I'm dressed as Antifa?
The confusion
How do you
is
do
real.
that?
Yeah, but that's the why they dress in all black, because they want to create confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so there was that.
Well, it's a tactic. It's a very
Right.
important tactic, so they don't get recognized by the police officers because they all mesh in. And we saw this tactic not just used in the United States, but also very prominently in Hong Kong, where they use black bloc tactics to an amazing extent, to a point where they don't even have to assault the press. They just have a team of umbrella people come around
Right.
and set up this huge umbrella circle
The
around
umbrella
them,
squad.
and they never assaulted journalists. They never told them not to film. They just set up these umbrella things, and it was way more
'Cause that's
diplomatic.
like real Antifa.
Yeah, and they were able to
Yeah.
galvanize
Like
a lot
real.
of these people. I mean, in Hong Kong, they're literally protesting for their lives.
Exactly.
There's people disappearing right now from China because they made a Facebook post or a social media post against the Chinese government.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.